totally on top of my ball. Hi, everybody. Hello, it's Mxiety. I am on tonight with ChrispyGameplay, a wonderful fellow mental health streamer. But first, what are you here for? For me to tell you what you're here for. My name is Mxiety. This is a mental health talk show with the goal of making mental health information available to everyone. We do so through expert interviews, through talking to people about their personal experiences, such as we are going to be doing with Crispy today. When we're not doing that, we have open topic discussions around pretty much anything, and most importantly, of a warm, welcoming community to be able to make all of that happen. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. I see Scaramouche Boy gifted you a subby, so I want to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so sweet. Yes, Crispy and so the bunny's name is Sylvie, I take it?
Yeah, so Sylvie's yes, this is Sylvie. He's a his full name is Sylvanus or Sylvanus, which
Okay.
is actually the Latin god of the woods.
Okay, that's not
He just
totally
goes by Sylvie.
meltily adorable. Look at that little nose.
Well, I saw you showing off your baby, so I had to show off mine. This is my buddy. This is my
Oh,
pal. This is my best friend. He's my co-host at times. He's a very, very good boy. He's my therapy
clearly.
bunny, and he's a very good boy. If he's a grumpy boy, but he's a good boy.
He's a grumpy boy. It's hard to be a parrot, I bet. It's
Yeah,
difficult. Yeah.
you like being a parrot? He actually doesn't mind sitting on my shoulder. If I let him sit for too long though, he might get mad and pee on me. So he's just here to say hello.
Just a few moments is fine. Then it doesn't have to stay the whole time.
We'll see how long he lasts and until he starts to get annoyed.
I can't. But so you do you have signs before, or you're just gonna get peed on and that's gonna be the end of the story?
It's been a very long time. Like he's
Okay.
2 years old now, so he's considered an adult bunny. When he was a baby, he would aggressively find ways to tell me that he was displeased, like peeing on me and scratching me and not scratching me, but he does this like little dig thing that he does.
Sure.
Like he still does it where he's like, maybe don't do that. Leave me alone. He's being very good right now.
Well, you're a very well-trained human to know all of his, weird the word I'm looking for, intricacies in. Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's funny, like not to get too crazy into it, but I am the equivalent of a crazy cat lady when it comes to rabbits. So rabbits are prey animals, so unlike dogs or cats, they are very hard to train and to kind of develop a bond with because you literally have to develop a bond with them in order for them to trust you. Being a prey animal, it's very hard for animals like rabbits to really trust their human companions. So he's a solo child, which also makes it difficult because his bond is to me as opposed to another rabbit in my apartment. So we have a very unique dad son relationship. He loves to use my face as a racetrack in the morning, and I love to bother him and make him come on stream. So it's a lot of give take, give take.
Yeah, everybody takes a little bit, gives a little bit. It's the 60-40 principle. You don't always do 50-50.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like 70-30 his way, but spoiled little man.
I always was afraid to get a bunny because I am very loud and jumpy and stuff, and I know that, like, I was told, I literally went into like a pet store at one point and was like, I want a bunny, and they're like, the fact that you just said it the way you did, you probably shouldn't get a bunny.
He's actually surprisingly good with noise. They don't really mind noise. Well, at least he doesn't. They're very, very different in their personalities depending on their breed.
Sure.
But he's pretty chill with it. He doesn't like to be bothered though. He can get kind of grumpy. Like there'll be times where people are like, please bring him on stream. I have a bit reward where he can come on stream, but it doesn't always work because sometimes he just runs away and he's like, absolutely not. I'm not getting picked up right now. I don't want anything because he knows. I mean, he knows when he sees my green screen goes up, he knows that it's dad's working. So
yeah. That's the same thing. So that's the same thing with Flynn. We have to bring him in with cookies or something, and we do have like a little reward for a Streamloots card that I play with him for 3 minutes. But otherwise, literally, this light comes on, my ring light comes on, he's out the door. He's done.
They know.
Yeah. And then you try to pick him up and he becomes extremely fast and extremely elusive. So I get it. Yeah.
He's so cute. Oh, I love corgis. They're so adorable.
I mean, there's a reason. There's two reasons that I wanted a corgi. One, it looks like a rabbit, and two, it looks like an Eevee. So the combination
Yes.
of both is pretty fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, being a rabbit owner is fun though. He's a very rewarding pet. He's really more of a friend. He's a rewarding little friend, and it's fun. He's a good time. It's never a dull moment. I call them ground cats.
Huh?
Rabbits are ground cats because they have the personality of a cat.
Right.
They just can't get to like a lot of the high. I mean, they can jump. Don't get me wrong. Like he can jump, but they don't get to like a lot of the high places cats can. So they're ground cats.
Got
I
it.
call them ground cats. Right, bud? Okay, you're getting frustrated. Ah,
You're getting cranky. Cranky
hey,
pants.
cranky boy.
Oh, cranky baby.
Well, say hi to Marie. Say
Oh,
hello.
okay, I'm fine.
Mwah.
This is fine. Everything's fine. I'm not gonna spaz out. This is fine.
Mm.
What a
He's
cute
very
baby.
he's just as soft as he looks.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Do
you
they
go,
need to
baby.
get baths? Oh, kisses.
Yeah,
Good
so
baby.
that's the thing. Like he kisses me. The only reason he's kissing me because he knows he has to give kisses before he gets let down.
Yeah, he's like,
So
okay, we're
if I
done.
go like this, he's like, okay, let me down.
Okay, put me down. I got
Mwah.
it. You got it.
All
Yeah.
right, bye, buddy. So he's also free range too. So he or free roam,
Yeah.
and he's also shedding. So you can see.
Oh, I always feel weird
God,
like I'm covered in dog hair constantly.
no, I am just. There's so much hair. Like they shed. Like I could make moccasins out of the amount of. I could make
Yeah.
another rabbit out of the fur that he sheds.
That makes me
It's
feel so much better because Corgi shed
no,
so much.
oh, gosh, it's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
So
They
yeah,
really are
so I
corgis. Yeah.
apologize. Yeah, I apologize if now I'm covered in hair, but that's
It's
what I
okay.
kind of
It's
that's
okay.
what I get for showing him off. Um,
We're
so
not
yeah,
gonna make you like go up, be like, you need to lynch roll yourself before you can be present on my stream,
I know.
please.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Marie, you're such a
Yeah.
tough act. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
I'm
I'll
not.
have none of this on my stream. But tell us a little bit about yourself. So you talk about mental health a lot on your stream, and that is how one of my mods, that girl Bryce, was like, "Yo, you need to talk to this person. They just got partnered." And I was like, well, I don't want it to seem like I'm only talking to them because they just got partnered. She's like, no, but you really should connect. And so I literally, the next thing I did was send a message being like, I was told we should talk. Can we talk?
So actually, I was told by apparently you and Cooley used to are our
Yeah,
buds, our
yeah,
pals.
yeah.
So Cooley, ever since she came over to Twitch, has been one of my closest friends. I met her through Jason.
Oh,
So when she heard that I was coming on your show, she's like, "Oh, that's my girl," and I was like, "Wait, what? You guys know each other?" I
oh
was
my
like, "Oh,
God.
I didn't realize." So you came over from Mixer as well, then?
Yeah, well, so I started on Twitch and then I moved over to Mixer because I posted out a tweet. Clever of you turning the question from yourself onto me.
I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. Don't
All
worry.
right. Well, so yeah, so then I posted a tweet when Mixer was kind of getting, biggish. I was like, hey, does anybody talk about mental health on Mixer? And people were like, no, come and talk. And Cooley was one of the people who responded to the tweet and was like, come be friends with me. And so then Cooley and I got really tight, and we used to do shows together and stuff. Like once a month, we would do a talk show where we would talk about mental health topics and how we feel about stuff. And all those VODs are gone, and I'm totally not bitter and sad about it. But yeah. So since then, like on Twitch, we've hung out a few times, and like we've done mungies together, but like not as often. Like Twitch is just a bigger. It feels like being like literally like a smaller fish in a bigger pond. So like I know where Cooley lives, I know where her house is, but I can't always swim over there. It's very far. And
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
always swimming with other fish now because there's so many fish. So it's cool. Yeah. But I absolutely adore Cooley. The most recent thing we did together is we took personality tests together. That was fun.
No, it was just funny because she had told me the other day that you guys were tight, and I was like, oh my god, that's so funny. It's a small world. I mean, as big as Twitch is, it can be a small world at times.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people know someone through another person, at least in one way or another. At least in this corner of Twitch, it's such a big place.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyways, getting back to your original question, as far as I go, I've been a variety streamer on Twitch for about 3.5 years now. I started it mostly as a way to just develop any kind of platform to talk about mental health because at the time I was going through a lot of stuff. I had gone through in a relationship that was not good.
Mm.
I had just gotten into a work accident where I actually got electrocuted, not shocked, like electrocuted, um, which triggered a series of journeys and exciting developments in my life that led me to realize that I had a lot of mental health issues that I had to get taken care of. Um, and because of that, and also because of I used to play ice hockey. I used to be a goalie, ironically, but I've had a lot of head injuries in the past. I've had 8 to 10 concussions with like 5 major concussions, which is a
Whoa.
lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yep.
Um, it's to the point where I actually have my brain signed over for CTE.
Whoa.
Yeah, I have my brain signed over for CTE experiments once I, inevitably perish, but hopefully not for a long time.
Yes, please
Um,
stick around.
yeah, but unfortunately, you got to sign over your brain for those studies, while you're still alive. So it's for a very, very good cause and good reason.
Yeah, of course.
Um, but so I've been not you can't diagnose CTE, but I've had doctors and brain doctors tell me that
Yeah.
there is signs that that are very much mental health related that
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of say that I may have minor patches of that in my brain as well, just because of A, the electrocution scrambling my brain, and B, because of major head injuries throughout my life. So anyways, that point in time triggered this kind of multifaceted journey through Twitch and developing not only a variety stream and being a personality on Twitch, but also talking about mental health and kind of talking about mental health from the perspective of, and everyone's got their own thing, right? You
Mhm.
have your own
Mhm.
thing. For me, it's always been about relatability and the way that I talk to people and be very upfront and vulnerable about my journey and the
Mhm.
way that I've dealt with the things that I've dealt with to try to convince people to get help and provide resources for them to get help or to at least start their own journey, and enable them and make them feel comfortable with um, starting that process and kind of destigmatize the conversation and the hopefully journey that comes from it in that whole process. So it started then 3 or 4 years ago. My buddy Chris Melberger, who's a pretty big partner on Twitch, he used to be on Vine, and I've been on Twitch. I always joke about this. My account is a day one Twitch account. Always been on Twitch. I actually started watching Twitch when it was still Justin
I was
TV.
gonna say, is it a
Uh,
Justin TV account or is it a
it
Twitch account?
was.
It was.
It's a grandfather. Actually, if I post in your chat, not to flex, but like,
Oh, flex, flex away, man. This is the
not to
show.
flex,
There
but
it is.
but my account's May 16th, 2011. Twitch wasn't created until I think June that year, so it's actually technically not a Twitch account, which is pretty cool. Um, so
At least
yeah,
it's not
so
a listen, it's not a mixer account. You're good. Like that's pretty cool. That's pretty
so
cool.
so it did get grandfathered in, which is awesome. But I've been on Twitch for a really long time, but I never really thought about streaming. And then once Chris started, I kind of gave me the thing to do, like it just gave me the idea, like, oh, maybe I can do this. And I started with a very small audience, like everyone else does, and I was able to grow it to a partnership level over the course of 3 years, and it's been a really cool journey. We've raised almost, I think we're over $12,000, and about I started fundraising like 7 or 8 months into streaming, and we've since then, basically in like 2 years, we've raised about $12,000 for mostly the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, but a number of other places as well.
Badass. Badass.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's so
Yeah,
awesome. And
yeah.
I actually, so the other day I like went down a rabbit hole because I was researching you and
Mm.
Chris came up and I was sitting there and going, I swear I know this name. Like I think somehow in college I encountered this person. But like, so at one point I will have to bother you to talk just because it's one of those like, I swear I know you. I swear. Do you
Di-
know what I'm
you
talking about?
you probably do. I mean, he was on Vine, like he was one of the biggest Viners. Hold on, I'm getting
I
bothered by
was never on
my
Vine.
light.
I was never
Yeah,
on Vine.
I wasn't either. That's the funny thing. I was never a Vine person, so sorry, I'm logging into
No,
my control
you're
center.
fine. Do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. I'll continue
I hate
having the
how
conversation. And
bright I am. I know. I'm really bothered by how bright I am.
oh my
But
god, I do. Wait, chat. Do I not do this all the time where if my lighting isn't right, you'll just see me messing with it the whole
Yeah.
stream very discreetly? So I get do your thing,
No,
figure
no,
it out.
I get very bothered by how I'm already super pale, so, like, if
No,
I need
I
to be more
get it
pale
because you become like
um
totally white. And by the way, speak of the devil, Chris is in
Oh,
chat.
there is! There's
Yo,
Chris.
do I know
Hey.
you? Look at me. Do you know me? I feel like I know you, and not in a like, oh yeah, everybody in Jersey knows you, but like seriously, I feel like I've encountered this human before.
I mean, you
I
must who
looked at
knows?
so what happened was their LinkedIn came up before other and I was just like I felt really weird so I like stopped doing it. But I was like if I ever encounter this person, which I guess we're encountering each other, Marist. Oh, I went to Ramapo. Did anything ever bring you to Ramapo? Anyway, this is
I feel
not
like
it's your interview. I'm sorry.
no, 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 I don't care. Chris is very known for taking my spot. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Oh.
no,
Oh, I had friends at Rutgers. Man, I feel like we crossed
you
paths at some point. Yeah.
it's
Anyway.
possible. Like I said, it's a
Anyway.
small world. I mean, and
Yeah.
he's been, he's been on the internet for a long time.
Right. Right. And that's
So,
why I was like, okay, Marie, like maybe you've just heard his name before, but I was like, no, I swear I've seen this face somewhere, and I was convinced it was called. But anyway, it's, anyway, so
no, it's fine.
crispy. Let's focus up here, focus up. So relatability and everything is a huge thing for you. How do you talk about mental health? Like, do you pick a topic? Do you just go like, I'm
So
feeling X today, and just like go out on it?
it definitely varies from conversation to conversation. What I tried to do over the last couple of years is foster an environment where any kind of topic or conversation can be brought to my attention, and we kind of talk about it. And not to firstly go back a little bit, but
No, go all the way.
I've cultivated a community that, especially people at the top and longtime members of the community, have um I one of my main mod, Kristen, she's wonderful, but she does professionally, she works with people professionally in terms of with companies and people like public, guess basically like
PR?
not public relations, but
No.
yeah, but like PR and human resource type stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she deals on a daily basis dealing with people. So I've purposely placed her at the top of my mod, um, you know, echelon to kind of help me and surround myself with, enabling me to just because I don't have all the resources and I don't have
No, of course.
all the
Nobody does.
relatable moments, and especially, like, when it comes to such a diverse community. I have a very, very large LGBTQIA plus community. I'm working on getting my community more diversified to have more BIPOC people in my community. Um, and because I'm a straight white male, it's not always, sufficient for me to just be me and not have someone else or surround myself with people that can also be a conduit to help me talk about these type of things,
This is
because
how I
I
started interviews. Not
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. This is how I
No,
started
no.
interviews because
Yeah.
people were like, let's talk about this topic. Let's talk about this topic. And I was like, I don't want to pull stuff out of my butt. So I'm going to talk to
Yeah.
people who can talk. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, 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 and that's exactly it, because I can't tell a black community member in my community how what it's like to be a black person and have
For
mental health
sure.
issues,
For
because
sure.
I don't know, because that's something that I've never experienced.
For sure.
So I can talk about it in a general sense, but if I don't surround myself with people that are able to talk about these things from a more relatable standpoint, considering that I do talk from relatability and vulnerability and sharing my personal story, generalities can get you very far,
Hmm.
but when it comes to specifics, especially this day and age and everything that's happened, in 2020 and 2021, but through the history of the United States, we need to do a better job, as white people, to
Yeah.
lift up the marginalized communities
Yep.
around us and raising their voices, even when I'm still the streamer in my stream, and handing them the mic and allowing them to talk
Yeah.
and allowing them to educate me. That is invaluable experience that I have, and that I'm very, very blessed that this community has enabled me to really provide a safe space. And I could say that confidently. It's a safe space where people can come and talk about mental health issues, from a variety of different perspectives, from a variety of different illnesses, from a variety of different, backgrounds, cultures, etc. So It's been a long road, and I've made mistakes along the way, like we all do. But the important
Mhm.
thing is to kind of learn and educate yourself as you go, and just having a core group of regulars and
Mhm.
mods around me, and having resources that I continually compile as I go. It's been a very successful journey, and I am very happy to say that many people have come to me and said, "Hey, I started going to therapy because of this talk, or I
Oh, it's such a
started
good
to check
feeling.
out medication because of this." And you know, you can't help everyone. That's
Right.
the sad reality of being a
Right.
mental health advocate. You can't always relate or help or protect every single person,
Yep.
but if you at least try your best, it's and be safe about it, and be, try not, and this, try
Responsible.
not responsible, try
Yeah.
not to be a professional, and just be an advocate in the truest sense of the sense. That's really been my journey, and my take on the whole thing. And doing it while playing games is always an interesting thing, because
Mhm.
I will have full-blown mental health conversations in the middle of a firefight in, like, in COD, or not that I play COD a lot, but or like in the middle of
No, I
Stardew
get it. Yeah.
Valley,
Yeah, yeah.
or whatever I'm playing, because I truly am a variety streamer. I play a lot of indie games, I play a lot of games. So I am a gamer at the heart of it. I think it's very helpful because people see me talking about, like, I had an awful day where I was dissociating a lot,
Mhm.
or excuse me, I just straight up burped there.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. There's that whole
Um,
John Mulaney bit where it's like the
yeah.
older you get, the more you talk through your burps. You don't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
actually. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
That's
That's exactly
exactly
what
it.
it was. That's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly
Where
what
you're
it
like,
was.
yeah, just
Yeah,
citizens.
so,
Yeah. So
as I'm drinking,
anyway.
like, sparkling water.
Oh, you're
Um,
fine. Oh my, you don't. So you don't know. We don't watch each other's streams enough, but like, I'm sure my community is going, uh huh, uh huh. Yeah, this is fine. This is
yeah,
fine. You
this
haven't.
is fine.
Yeah, I literally we have a belch card in Streamloots because
Okay, there
it
you go.
used to be a command. So we're good. You're good. You're good. You're in the right place.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, that's the way we do it, Normalize just basic human functions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I went off track a little bit. But yeah, so that's really that's me, I guess, the last 3 years. That's how I've cultivated the community, and kind of, it's like I said, it's about who you surround yourself with.
Yep.
It's about the resources that you collect. I've worked very closely. I specifically raise a lot of money for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, just because it's very near and dear to my heart and my
Mhm.
journey. I have
Mhm.
talked about it extensively on my stream, but I have been suicidal in the past. I've had suicidal ideologies in the past, and I talk a lot about content warning, trigger warning. I'm sure you know on this channel that's safe to just kind of speak about without
You
without
good.
that.
You
But
good.
always content
No,
warning,
always
trigger warning.
content warning. It's the kind thing
Um,
to do. Yeah.
yeah. But I always work with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, because they're so good on providing resources to help normalize the fact that suicide is not just about people who
Yes.
attempt to take your life,
Yep.
but it's about living your life wanting to die, or living your
Yep.
life not wanting to be there. There are many different forms of suicidal ideologies, and feeling suicidal. And
Mhm.
to me, a lot of people do not recognize the signs
Mhm.
early enough, and they ended up living very, very miserable lives because of it, and very, very sad lives because of it. And it ends up creating this cavalcade down this waterfall of other mental illnesses, addiction, stuff like that. So I love them. They do amazing work. They're one of the few foundations and charities that I trust, just because you have to do research into
You
where your
have to.
money's going
Yep.
to.
Yep.
You have to these days, because there's too many places that are
Mhm.
just, you know, we could
Yeah.
go on forever about that.
Yep.
But they do amazing work, and so I try to focus on them. I've been branching out little by little. We did for I always do a holiday stream. We did Trevor Foundation, who I love
Mhm.
as well. Trevor Foundation is great, and they're pretty tried and true. So we did
Yep.
a nice charity stream for our holiday stream, talking about mental health, specifically in the LGBTQIA plus community,
Oh,
which
that's
was
awesome
nice.
of you. Yeah.
And it's important to just get my community involved, and as well. But last year for Pride Month, I actually had two members of my community come on, and I actually interviewed them. and I interviewed
Awesome.
them from a perspective of someone who basically, like, let's just say I know nothing.
Hmm.
Tell me what it's like to be a trans member of the community, and tell
Hmm.
me what it's like to be a non-binary
Hmm.
person in this community. And
Hmm.
we did, about I don't even know. It was pretty long actually. We ended up doing like a whole stream where we interviewed these two individuals, and they were awesome.
Hmm.
And it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that just normalizes all these issues that also indirectly and directly deal with mental health. And it's mental health is tied to so many things.
Everything. Yeah.
It's literally everything. And
No, we
people
say mental health. We talk about everything and anything because mental health isn't everything. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
and our mental health is turned and twisted and battered back and forth by many issues and many, things that go on in our society and Western culture. So it's important for me to make sure that my community is not only safe but involved in what we do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That is so
Yeah.
awesome. Oh my goodness. No, but it's
Yeah.
it's true because I have encountered, this is not tea, this is not shade, but I have
Mhm.
encountered mental health advocates who either come at it from a perspective that might be harmful, right? So giving advice, which just like is a big scary, like I get scared for them. I'm like, you don't know what somebody's gonna do with that advice. Like it means
Yeah.
so well, but you don't know what somebody's going to walk away with after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole charity supporting thing, that's been a really really tough one for me because I've definitely made some boo-boos and fallen into some traps. Not thankfully not anything that I've fundraised for, but definitely, charities and communities that like I've talked to or considered fundraising for, considered being an ambassador. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, mhm.
it's tricky. It's tricky, and unfortunately, not, like anything else, not everyone means well, and they use,
Yeah.
things like mental health and advocacy for, not only mental health, but of course, basically any community, any marginalized community as a facade to, you know easily manipulate their way into money and,
Yep.
you know uh viewership and stuff like that. So it's important to just, whenever you're talking about, well, specifically we're talking about mental health, whenever you're talking about mental health, you always have to come from the perspective of you are not a professional, unless you are a professional, which I am not.
But
A
even if you
bachelor in
are,
yeah, even
even
if
if
you
you
are.
are, you can't give advice to people who you're not professionally treating
Exactly.
ethically.
Ethically. Exactly. So it's one of those things that, you know, directing people to the right thing is what you need to do. And anyone who's in chat that, wants to be an advocate, and we want everyone to be an advocate.
Of course.
It's important to remember that when you give somebody advice, personal advice, you, like you said, Marie, you never know what they're gonna do with it. And unfortunately, the way the world is with social media and the way that the internet is, your words can be interpreted in 1,000 different ways.
That too. Yep.
And when you say something that you may mean well, and I've had this issue too. I've made mistakes where I thought I was, like tweeting about something, and then my friends were like, "Yo, like what
That's
you're
not.
implying what
Yeah.
you're implying here is not good, and it's okay. You
Yep.
you you know you made a mistake, but you gotta delete
Clean that
that
up.
and
Yeah.
clean that up and
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
and understand that you know you have to be very aware of what your words imply. So it's always important
That's
to
a big
just,
one. That's a
yeah,
big,
and
well, especially right now, and
oh
you
my
don't
family's over.
know. You could have somebody. First of all, awesome friends. Like you have
Yeah,
awesome friends. Having
yeah.
friends that will be like, "Yo, take that back," you know.
Hmm.
That is amazing. Not everybody has that, and I wish everybody, especially content creators, to have that.
Yeah.
But second of all, there will be somebody who can use well-intentioned people in a negative way, right?
Oh
There
yeah.
could be somebody that comes out and goes, "Oh, you meant this thing, and I've decided that now I'm gonna turn it into a thing, and now people are gonna assume the worst from you." And you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that's not what I meant." Okay, first of all, I gotta fix all of that. But second of all, I don't think you're saying this there's like a nice way to say it. There's a nice way to give critique, and then there's a way to be like, you're doing something here. You're being unkind in calling me out, not just like trying to correct me in a positive way. And so like that's stuff you have to look out for. And especially, I don't know how you feel, and I would love to kind of dive into this, but
Mhm.
I have had not issues, but there was definitely twofold for me. One, as I started going more and more into the public eye, how I dealt with my depression became heavier, because it was now I am setting an example for people. This is how people deal with depression. Whether or not I like it, people are going to now. I'm visible enough that people are going to look at it and be like, oh, is this how people deal with depression? Because this isn't pretty. Or, oh, is this how people deal with depression? Oh, okay. And being that voice was super, like, becoming that voice was super scary. And I'm not even like that big. I'm not trying to pretend that I have like all this influence, but you have some. And what you have, you should be very careful and responsible with, right?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing that I want to touch upon. Like, what is it like having mental health issues in the public eye? And two, just fixing your mistakes when you make mistakes, when you misspeak, when you misrepresent somebody, when you say something that is well-meaning, but like, hey, that actually is pretty, that looks pretty bad when you say that, because this community would interpret it this way because of. So let's dive deep. Let's go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, I think for the first part, for me, dealing with mental health and having mental health issues, and specifically, I deal with post traumatic stress disorder. And I have generalized anxiety, but unfortunately, my generalized anxiety manifests itself in almost all of the five major categories of anxiety. So,
Woohoo!
yeah, but specifically social anxiety, which is
Okay.
very interesting. Because my social anxiety doesn't get triggered over the computer, which is probably, I've been told, a my brain actually not associating the computer and being in front of the public in the computer as being in the public, basically. Which is an interesting dichotomy to
Yep.
have,
Yep.
because as I deal with having anxiety and very bad anxiety, in especially social anxiety, in the public, I'm not really in the public to my brain, because I can be in front of hundreds of people watching my stream, but it doesn't trigger in my head that hundreds of people as
Mhm.
they would be in an auditorium. Because if you put me in an auditorium, I would have a nervous breakdown. But
Same.
if I
Same.
if I'm in front of, between 70 and who knows how many people on the computer, there's no, I'm looking at a camera, and
You
while
look
I
at a
see names,
lens.
you
Yeah.
look at a lens, and
Yeah.
while I see names in chat, I grew up, unfortunately, in a time of the internet where chat rooms were like the weirdest and most normalized thing. Like, I'm 30 years old, so when I was younger, chat rooms were like this weird kind of Wild West, when I was, in high school and in middle school, and it was kind of not what it is today, and also kind of probably not safe, but we didn't care.
Well,
So
there were a few
so
strangers I talked to. I had a boyfriend in Romania, so
yeah, like, we
I
all
can't
had those
judge.
things,
Yeah, I
like
can't
the
judge.
random internet boyfriend or girlfriend
Yep.
or partner that we didn't
Yep.
really know,
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep. I was like, no, 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 he's
no
real. He's
kids.
like, he wants to come to the US. And my sister was like, it's taking everything in my body right now not to just take the computer away from you.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I know you
and
need it
we
for school. So like, do not talk to this
everyone goes
person anymore. Yeah.
ASL. Yeah,
Yeah.
ASL, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh my God. Yeah. Wait, do you mean AOL?
oh, no, 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 ASL, so age, what is it? Age, sex, language, or age, sex,
Oh,
region, or whatever? Yeah. So
okay. Okay.
yeah, size, I'm old, yeah. So
Sorry,
anyways,
I didn't know. Sorry.
so so for me, like, I battled depression when I was a kid, because my parents got divorced when I was 10 years old. So
Mhm.
I had childhood depression
Mhm.
very badly, and while it very, very rarely manifests itself as an adult, it still, lingers. It's not something that
Yeah.
just goes away, as but I think the important thing, and it being in the public eye and having mental, especially on things like Twitter, Instagram, stuff like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
it's more the social media aspect, and again, kind of going back to, how your words can be manipulated and misconstrued and twisted and turned a million different ways. I think the most important thing is to just, for me, not to put information out there that when I look at it and I go, could that be misconstrued? If it can be, I probably won't tweet it, or I probably won't,
Yeah.
put it on Instagram or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And many of the resources that I share are from professional or, known, well respected people
Mhm.
in the mental health community that are tried and true, that have not been problematic, etc. I try to stick to the less controversial side of it just because it's just it's not worth the anxiety on my part or my community or my followers or the people that I influence to try to bring something to the table that could be either, like I said, misconstrued, or also something that might be controversial, not even in a negative sense. Things can be controversial and be positive too, which people forget about, but things that are just not known science. And, as I educate myself, which as an advocate, you're always educating yourself because you're not a
I would hope
professional.
so.
And
Yes.
well, even as a professional, you're still educating yourself. So no
Yes.
matter what, you're still
Yes.
educating yourself. So, you just gotta learn. And for me, it was just learning to bring specific focus to the issues that you're talking about, focus very directly on those issues, and become an and not an expert on the subject, but an expert at speaking about the subject in a way that allows you to relate and do the work that you want to do, which is very different from being an expert on the subject itself. You want to just be good, or are well spoken enough about the subject to be able to direct the people towards the resources that they want. Um, and it's funny because I think a lot of people, especially if you're here from my chat, are probably they know that I tend to play a character sometimes when it comes to my stream because it is entertainment, and I do time to, like Jason, Jason Sully.
Mhm.
Jason's great, but let me tell you, talking to him personally, he is not a stupid person, and he's not a goofball. Well, he is a goofball, but he's not stupid. I shouldn't say stupid, but he's not as, like himbo as he makes himself
Mhm.
seem.
Mhm.
He turns it up to 10 because people love him and his ridiculous antics. Just like I do. And when it comes to talking about these things in a very real sense, I think knowing when to turn the switch on and off. Like right now, I'm not going to sit here and just crack jokes and make fun because this is a very serious subject.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I can have fun. I had freaking Sylvia on my shoulder when I started the interview, but it's also important to remind people that, you know, advocates are doing the work in front of your eyes, but they're also doing the work behind the doors too, to make sure that when we go out and we talk about the things that we talk about and be in the public eye and having to deal with that in home too, when you guys see the camera turn off, you don't know you don't always know what happens because we have our private lives too.
Yeah.
So, it's weird in a sense because for me specifically, right, I'm so open and honest about what I deal with when I turn the camera off in terms of my mental health, that there is a different sense of kind of people know kind of what I'm dealing with already. So it's not necessarily hard for me to continue to discuss that because they know, I'll take days off when I have bad brain days, or I'm pushing myself too hard, or I'm having an anxiety attack because something happened that I
Mhm.
just can't,
Mhm.
deal with physically. I can't be on the computer. And
Mhm.
I've had anxiety attacks on stream, and I had a moment where a dear friend of mine, there was a literal miscommunication on stream that caused me to absolutely just lose it on stream. I
Oh,
had to I had to end my stream, or I had to actually take a break just because it was total misunderstanding. Totally fine afterwards, but in the moment it just got completely, like,
really hot.
yeah, really hot.
Yeah.
And not even, it was just awkward more so. But I love that person, and it's just it's one of those things, it's you gotta, like I said, I think I pretty much covered all of it, but the main points are you gotta be very considerate of what you're saying, how you say it. For me personally, and I don't want to speak for any other advocate or give advice, but when it comes to me specifically, I don't have a problem talking about, mental health in the public eye, or being someone who deals with mental health in the public eye because my community's seen it in front of them. And after a certain point, there is a little bit of numbness, not in a negative sense, but there is a little numbness for me. Um, and maybe numbness is the wrong word. Probably there's the ability for me to be vulnerable in front of an audience that I
Hmm.
don't that doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it's a lot of work or is a lot of mental stress on me to be vulnerable in front of
Hmm.
my audience because I've been
Hmm.
doing it for so long. And even people coming in and out of communities like they do, even for new people, I think the moment I realized that being vulnerable in front of my audience, in front of the people that watch me in my community, is helping them, is the moment that
Yes.
I was able to start letting it go. And the letting go all the sorry, the
Yeah.
awkwardness, the internal strife that I was having on being someone who is publicly, dealing with mental illness. So for me, that's kind of how that all fits in to to everything. So I think I
That's
think I covered it all pretty
You covered
extensively.
it all. No, you really really
Yeah,
did. And
yeah.
it's interesting to me because I feel like I there's there's specifically, I don't think that I filter at
Mhm.
all. Like, I think I did go through a phase where I filtered very heavily and was very like, I have to be perfect for people because otherwise I'm going to make mental health advocacy look bad, and I'm going to make it like a bummer, and I don't want it to be a
Yeah.
bummer. And like that, that
I
was
get what you're
just,
saying.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
something I was obsessed with for a while because I was like,
Mhm.
I don't want people not to come to the show, not to come to the channel because they're like, they're talking about depression. I'm going to be bummed out because that's not always the, like
Yeah.
you said, like sometimes,
Mhm.
topics are serious and stuff, but sometimes you're just like, or at least for me, it's like, this is my life. It's like, it's kind of funny. I don't know. Depression's kind of funny some days. Not always, but it can be.
I mean, that's the point, right? The whole
Yeah.
idea is to destigmatize the conversation so that it's not a conversation that people are like, "Oh, here comes the mental health conversation.
Right.
Gotta tune out because, I may get upset or it's just gonna be depressing
Right.
and sad and
Yeah.
and that's really not the case. It's
Right.
really not the case for a lot of people that talk about mental health. And, for especially for people like us that talk about it in a way to destigmatize it and make it
Right.
more normalized.
Right.
And I think like anything else, people do realize it if after they give it a chance and they allow
Yep.
themselves to kind of be part of those communities and those shows and broadcasts and personalities that do that. But there's also not enough people that talk about it in general or allow themselves to speak on it
Yeah.
in such a broad sense. And the one thing I do love about Chris, he's one of my best friends. I mean, he literally lives like 100 yards from me. We live in the same apartment complex. So I've I've known him for a very long time and we've been very, very close the last, 5 to 6 years.
That's wonderful.
Um, he does a tremendous job of talking about that stuff and using his 100 times bigger platform than I have, to talk about this stuff, and that's why, he is one of my closest friends because he's so good at doing it. And, again, it's about who you surround yourself with,
It
you know?
is. It is 100% that. And it's also about there was definitely a moment where my community would say, "Okay, so I feel warm here. I feel like I can be myself." And there's a moment where the community was like, "Hey, you have to be yourself cuz we got you back." And that was a
Yeah.
big mask shedding moment for me
Mhm.
because that was masking has been like, I don't know about you, but like my entire life I've been pretending to not be depressed, like
Yeah, of course.
forever.
Yeah.
Forever,
Mhm.
because it's not socially acceptable to like, when people ask you how you're doing, they don't want you to be like, "Oh, I kind of want to content warning kill myself." Like they don't want
Yeah.
to hear that. They
No.
they want you to be like, "Yeah, I've been better," you know?
Yeah,
So,
or not talk about it at all,
yeah, or just
like
be like, "Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, things are
yeah,
great. Today's a great day. Yep."
yeah, yeah.
And so there was a moment where, cuz what I think what was enabled to do compared to, I think you set out starting out in a little bit of a different way. I set out being, I'm going to try to present this information almost, not exactly, but like almost journalistically, like here is
Yeah.
mental health resources and research that I have read on, that I have a background in medical editing, that I can give you access to. Let's talk about them. Let's discuss them. So it was very scientific, and it was really easy
Mm.
to remove the person from that.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, yeah, but not me. And there would be moments literally where I'd be like, I haven't talked about my own experience on stream in a while because I've been kind of covering it with, oh, we're having a professional on. Oh, we're talking about this topic, how you feel about it. And so it was really easy to also, I feel like, depersonalize it. And that's something that I broke through in the past 2 years of being like, no, no, the whole point of being an advocate is your experience.
Mm.
And did you ever feel a pressure? Because I've felt this pressure, like I've had it thrown in my face, like, oh, what kind of mental health advocate can you be if you deal with depression yourself? Like, isn't the whole idea you figured it out and now you're telling people how to figure it out? And that's so far from the truth. But have you ever felt that pressure? Has anybody ever said that? Because that's been said to me like twice, actually.
It's never been said to me, but I definitely have been in the position where I've had implied statements like that been directed in my
Yeah.
zone, so
Yep.
to speak.
Yep.
And I think any mental health advocate would get that, but that's like, I mean, it's not the. I'll be very careful when I say this. It's not the same type of extent, but it's like telling a black person that they can't be the number one most, expert on being a black
Right.
rights advocacy.
Right.
What do you mean? They
Yeah.
literally
I've
live it
lived
every
it.
day of their
Yeah. I'm
life.
literally
You know what I'm
living it.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
while
It's
it's
not the
not the
same. It's two
same
different it's different
to yeah,
levels, and it's
different
different
levels.
playing fields, different
Yeah,
areas. Yeah.
different areas.
Yeah.
There is a relatable analogy there where
Yeah.
it's like trying to tell me that I don't understand, or I don't put in the work. And obviously, there is a lot of research, like and a lot of safeties and learning about precautions and
Yeah,
stuff that you
yeah,
need
yeah.
to take while being an advocate. But the best way to relate to somebody when it comes to advocacy is going through what you're advocating for, because if you haven't experienced it, it's tough to be able to relate, but it's also tough to relay a message
Mhm. Mhm.
that hits home. And
Mhm.
I do appreciate people um, that try to advocate that aren't dealing with mental health, because people do need to be talking about it because it's important. But the people that are very key on listening to are the ones that are not only advocating but have dealt with it themselves, because there's a sense of relatability that you cannot get from anyone but those people.
Yep.
And and there's even medical experts that are professionals on this, that there is a little bit of a disconnect because they don't deal with it themselves,
Yes.
but they are able to get over that boundary by the fact that they professionally helped and dealt with people and seen it firsthand. So there's a bit of, you know,
But
um,
that was what that was I
yeah,
keep talking about myself. I don't know if that this is a
that's fine.
conversation, so it's
This is
fine.
your channel.
No, no, but like the whole idea is, we're relating to each other and everything. I don't
Yeah, of course.
I've gotten really like anxious about that stuff. I don't know, fam. I'm sorry. But
No, you good.
uh I in all of that apology, I forgot what I was going to say. Please continue what you were saying.
No, no, but anyways, the whole analogy and just the idea is that, you know, talking and listening to advocates that are dealing with it themselves enables people to look at themselves and
Yes.
what they're going through and find the relatable moments and the relatable things that they're dealing with. And we never advocate self-diagnosing, because that is can be very harmful,
Yes. Yes.
but it could make them key in on things that
Yes.
maybe they should go get
Yes.
help for,
Hey, do you
which
do weird stuff that I do? Go
yeah,
talk to somebody about it, cuz
go
I
talk to
talk to
somebody
somebody
about it.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my goal. And I
exactly.
always start like, "Hey, we're going to talk about ADHD, and if any of this sounds familiar to you, do not sit here and be like, "Well, I guess I have ADHD." Go to talk to somebody
No, go
about it.
talk to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think I think one of the most harmful things in any category of advocacy, or anything in general, is is when people say they have something, but they haven't been diagnosed. And a lot of times
Yes.
it can be the case, but when people casually be like, oh, well, it's my ADHD, or oh, it's my anxiety, or oh, it's my
Right.
depression, and they haven't been truly diagnosed, or they haven't, or they maybe don't even actually have that, they're just using it as like a phrase. It's very harmful for people that are dealing with mental health illnesses, and people that are advocating for these things, because it fights back against what we're trying to do, and we're trying to get people to go and find their journey and find their path to dealing with the problems that they have and the issues that they have, and being in a more well state. When people use it so casually, while it does in a weird way bring attention to it, it doesn't do it justice, if that makes sense.
It does. The only thing, so I've been super cautious, and I'm not correcting you. I'm just bringing
Yeah,
in another side, right?
oh, absolutely.
The only thing that I've been super cautious about, and I'm torn about this myself,
Mhm.
is exactly what Madison LMC is saying right now, which is diagnosis access is not what it should be pretty
Oh
much in
no.
any country. And so
Mhm.
I do also always try to acknowledge my privilege and the fact that like I was
Right.
able to go to a doctor and get an ADHD
That's a
diagnosis.
good point.
The only thing that I always want
Yeah.
to like emphasize is, look, if you can't go get a diagnosis, all I want is for you to not go around living your life thinking you're depressed, thinking you have ADHD, thinking you have OCD because you've decided that. That's the only,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
there are crappy doctors who give crappy diagnoses. You could get a diagnosis, go to another doctor, get a different diagnosis. Like there's so, diagnostics are so, we don't have, unlike the flu, unlike diabetes, we can't measure something and say you are this depressed, you are this bipolar.
Mhm.
So it is something that's so touch and go. I'm very against self diagnosis, but I'm slowly, and I'm conflicted about this, but I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that, like, people have to be able to have a margin of self diagnosis in
Mhm.
just because right now there's not a good way to get diagnosed and there's not easy access and that blows like that.
Mm.
I want to be able to say go to your general doctor and talk to them about it, and most people have access to a general doctor, and that's at least something. But I know a lot of general doctors are not psychiatrists, they are not
Yeah.
trained in psychology, and
No.
so a general doctor can be like, yeah, okay, here's an SSRI because that's what you give to somebody who has depression. But if I'm bipolar, giving me an SSRI is just going to set off my mania. So
Yeah.
like it's a really really, and I clearly get really excited about this. I could
No,
talk
I love it.
I could talk about this for a while because it's one of those things where like I have to acknowledge my privilege, but I also have to give that disclaimer and have to say like I understand you might not have access to a diagnosis, but if you can, you'll be so much better off if you get an official diagnosis than walking around labeling yourself something that you don't necessarily know you are. I'm
I
very
think
conflicted about it. Go ahead.
what I think that's basically what I was trying to say, and probably not. As
No, you were
elegant as
on
I
the path. You were on the path.
yeah,
Yeah,
as elegant as like sometimes, because I'm a fairly elegant speaker, obviously. No,
yeah. All of us
as
are. All those
I
mental
know,
health advocates. We have the best words.
I think it's a touchy subject, because like acknowledging your privilege on it is so important,
Yeah.
because even the most privileged people have tough times getting diagnosis or access to
Yeah.
diagnosis. So acknowledging that, and then looking at people that that don't have, marginalized communities that don't have access, and to even just generalized healthcare in some
Right.
points.
Right.
um it's important to acknowledge that, and make sure that you know that's why collecting a lot of these free to access resources that are out there, while
Mhm.
a lot of times they aren't gonna be the professional help that you need, they are a starting point.
Yes,
and
they're the start.
there's a start, and it's the best we can do right now. I mean, we could have a whole conversation on the healthcare system, why mental health access is so absolutely
I
is a
could.
disaster.
Oh,
And yeah, there's a lot of things
there's
in
so much. Oh, so
Western
much.
Western culture really, that's just a problem.
Yeah.
But especially in the United States.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, like I said, that's gonna trigger a whole nother hour-long conversation. I don't know how
Listen,
much
man,
time you
I
have,
got
but
the time.
you
I
know,
got
yeah.
the time.
But
For
but yeah, yeah, I want to make sure and I appreciate that. I don't want to misspeak when it comes to that. Um, I just the important thing is I don't want people. I always tell people I don't want you. The reason I would say don't self-diagnose is not maybe self-diagnose isn't the right word. I probably have to find a
No, no, I think
better
that's the
word.
word. I think that's the
Don't
yeah.
don't don't self-diagnose yourself into thinking that it's like the concept of what is man,
Don't
that's
put
gonna slip
yourself
my
in a
mind.
corner. That's what,
Don't put
not even
yourself
in
in
a
a corner.
box. Don't
Yeah,
put
yeah,
yourself in the corner of
no.
being like, I probably have ADHD. And so these are all the things that are wrong with me. Because maybe you
Yeah,
don't have ADHD, you might have autism. And then,
yeah.
then also looking at it from the perspective of these are the things that are wrong with me
Mhm.
implies that, having that diagnosis means you're broken or something. But I
Yeah,
feel like a
it's more the
diagnosis.
larger
Yes,
implications
the
to it.
larger,
Yeah,
yes. And I
yeah.
feel like a diagnosis should be what my hope is for people when they get a diagnosis is an opening to answers. It's not so
Yes,
that you can slap yourself with a label and be like, this is all the ways I hate myself because I have ADHD. It's so that
exactly.
you can be like, I'm on the path now. People with ADHD tend to do better with XYZ. People with
Mhm.
ADHD tend to take, when they take this medication, have good results. That is, I wanted to open a path to people. And if you self
Yeah.
diagnose, you could put yourself on the wrong path. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's basically yeah. That was perfectly said.
I want to acknowledge there's a really great comment here by Serotonin. It might be also worth mentioning that in some conversations about mental health, a lot of people are more willing to accept stigmatizing depression, anxiety, but then people talk about BPD or dissociative identity disorder, and the information can be lacking outside of professional spheres. That is the point of, and this is where I was going before, but that is the point of the stream. That is the point of, and it sounds like Crispy. That's the point of your stream as well. Like
Mhm.
it is here is my experience. I'm only going to talk about my experience because I only know about my experience. Here are resources about things I don't know about. Here are people I'm going to talk to who have lived experience in these other areas. And hopefully that destigmatizes more than just depression and anxiety. But I'm also very cautious. I can't sit here and be like, I'm here to destigmatize BPD. Somebody with BPD should be focusing on we'll do a better job, not should be. We'll do a better job destigmatizing BPD than I ever could.
Mhm.
That's my firm belief.
Yeah. And they'll just have more generalized information on it too. Like
Yeah.
I can provide general information on a number of mental illnesses, but that doesn't make me able to relate to them in any terms
Mhm.
besides the ones that I deal with and have dealt
Mhm.
with. And I think that's why, as an advocate, you grow growing a diverse, whether it be viewership or community, etc., allows you to allows people to find you and to be welcomed into your community and
Mhm.
maybe have that perspective that would be able to provide. I mean, we'll never be able to cover all the bases.
Right.
And I hope, there's a part of me that doesn't want to have to cover all the bases because I don't want to have a person, from every single corner of the mental health world have to be here because I don't want people to experience it, you know?
Right. That's a
I
good
don't
point
want them to
too.
exist, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
don't want them to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, it's a double-edged sword in that regard. But, it's again, like for me, diversity in your community and using that diversity to allow yourself and allow your community to bring in a number of people that have so many important, and that's the thing, these are important viewpoints, important conversations, and important, perspectives that you may not be able to necessarily relate to. And also just being and we didn't even talk about just being the arbiter and being a good arbiter and being a good mediator of these conversations is something
Yeah.
that's so incredibly important. because you have to know when to not deflect, but you have to know when to turn a conversation back on its head if it gets too in one
Too
direction or
personal or
another,
too
too
deep or
personal,
yeah.
too, and not even too deep. It's okay to share deep experiences.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
you want
I
to
I should correct
protect
that.
you
Mhm.
want to protect people like anything else. You just want to protect people from, sometimes from themselves, and from, spitting too much personal information on the internet because the internet can be a scary
Yes.
place.
It's
Doesn't
that.
matter how safe your community is,
Yes.
there's a level of
So
anonymity that I
sorry.
want all the people in my community to be able to, or not anonymity, just personal
Yes.
privacy that
Yes.
that they should be allowed themselves as well. So
100% that. Yeah. And also I might know a little bit better, and this is going to sound so cocky, but I know my community well enough to be able to say, hey, this conversation, while it's good and I know that this is important to you, like you said, hey, you're going a little bit too far. Like what I say is you'll have like uh you'll have like a hangover the next day of like regret of like, did I say too
yeah,
much? And I don't want that for people who come onto my channel. And so I'd rather you guard your heart and be careful about what you're saying. And I also want to make sure people in my community aren't like, okay, I wanted to hear about that, but I didn't need to know those details. So for
yeah,
example, we had somebody come on and share they're creating what do you call it, a movie about what it's like. They lived with their wife who had bipolar and she died by suicide, and
mm,
what it was like living with her. And
mm,
the trailer is very triggering, and I
really,
racked my mind on why, because it's showing somebody with bipolar disorder who's going through psychosis. Like, this is mental health. If I'm sitting here, this is the reality. I can't sit here and be like, mental health, but only the good parts. Like, I don't want that.
yeah,
But there's definitely a line of this is literally triggering people because they're probably thinking of other people who in their lives did something like that, or
yeah,
of their own worst moments. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to talk
yeah,
about mental health in a way that is healthy to everybody. And that balance, that's what that are being the arbiter, that balance is so hard. Yeah, Bryce, it was so much. It was a lot. And it
yeah. I can
yeah.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually apologize. I gotta run to the bathroom real quick.
Oh
I
my
know we're in
God,
the
so
middle of
do
an
I.
interview.
Wait, so do I.
Do you
Hold
want to
on.
take a quick
This worked
break for a
out really
second?
great. Okay,
Okay. All
wait,
right.
break. Yeah. Well, BRB guys.
Okay.
Sorry, fam.
middle of the interview bathroom
No,
break. All
no, no. It's
right. Sorry.
perfect. It's perfect. We're good. I'm
Okay.
putting on
Fire
I'm
break.
putting on a quick break.
Okay, cool. I'll be right back. You're
I don't
good.
have my headphones on, so I can't hear you. All right, we're not. Hold on. Wait, why didn't that change? Hi, everybody. We've BRB'd and we've B'd. We're B now.
We're B.
We're at the other B. But yeah, that was okay. So that was great. Whoa, you just zoomed in and now you're
Yeah,
back. Okay.
I meant to zoom out.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, all right. Where were we? Why don't we go, if you're comfortable, into some questions from the audience, because we have
Sure.
quite a few, and I would love to address them.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the way that you ask a question is exclamation question, and that'll give you instructions on how to do it properly, because we just changed their system, so I don't know it off the top of my head as well, and I have beautiful, amazing, incredible mods who help me out with this one. So I type this in, and this comes up. Okay. Lame asks, I have a question. A game that really moved me was The Last Campfire. Have you guys played it? For me, it made me understand my depression more and more. I have not. Wait, are we muted? No, we're not muted. Oh my gosh. Have you played it, Crispy?
Game that's really moved me was The Last Campfire. Yes. I don't believe so. The Last Campfire. Let me see.
Look it up.
I heard about this game. Oh, is this the game where you like it's a platformer puzzle where you like move around and yeah. I remember. I watched somebody play this. I don't remember the gist of it though. And I believe there was something.
It's cute.
I believe it's a platformer, and I forget if it has something to do with like some kind of loneliness or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. Lost
I
Ember
gotta check
trapped
it
in a
out.
puzzling place, searching for meaning in a way home. Okay.
Last is an adventure story of lost ember. Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
I've watched somebody play it, but I have not played it myself. But maybe it's something I should add to my list.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds right
Yeah.
up our alley, if I don't mind saying that.
No, that's fine.
Awesome sauce. Okay, next question. Paige Joanna asks, how do you balance keeping your personal life private and being open about your personal mental health journey and talking about your experiences? Oh, that's a great Crispy. Go ahead. That's a really good question.
Yeah, so this one's important for me because being on the internet now for 3+ years in a kind of quote unquote influencer type capacity, I've had to reclaim a lot of my privacy from my personal life just because as you grow bigger and bigger, you need to retain aspects of your private life in order to keep sane. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And also to just keep yourself safe.
Yeah, the
The
safe part.
important thing is just for me and when I tell my stories and when I tell things about, myself and what I deal with and, it's about providing enough information and enough of my journey and my story and anything I need in order to be relatable and in order to get the point across without providing information like specific locations and um, specific things that I don't want people to,
Yes.
or I don't feel comfortable with people, having. And even just even just when as little as like this camera angle, the fact that nothing in this camera angle or behind me would give you, and even if my chair moved, would give you any information on where I am at this point in the world or any other types of things like that, like anything like that. It's these little things that you have to think about as a content creator constantly because
Yeah.
a lot of people out there that want to do you harm.
Yeah.
Not maybe necessarily you, but people. So you have to
Yeah.
be careful for you and your community. And I think it's just being mindful about what you say and being mindful about the discussions that you have in the context of what you bring to the table. That's really it, you know?
Yeah.
It comes with practice like anything else, I've slipped up before, but, as it becomes more important to you, you learn that there's just some certain things you just don't talk about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've also found there's a protection angle is a really really big one, but I've also found of myself taking this little litmus test in my mind, being like, does this serve a purpose? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to share this information, is it to help somebody? Is it to convey a point? Is it
Mhm,
to, help people relate? Is it like, is there a purpose, or is
mhm,
this me just being like, and sometimes that's okay too, just being like, "Oh, I wanna complain," or "I just wanna
sure.
share this with you guys." Like, sometimes that's okay too, but
Mhm,
generally, most of the time, for your own safety and everything, it's better to, yeah, it's better to be safe. Like, for example, this is a definite choice I made, was to close that window, even though you can see a corner of it,
mhm.
because at some point I heard somebody else talk on their stream. They had a window open and there was lightning. And the person said, "Oh my God, you live so and so?" Because we just had the same lightning.
Yeah, it's like
And I was like, "That's not happening."
yep,
or
yep.
or like cars drive by on the street by me, like somebody's zooming in on a drive license plate and being like, "Oh, she lives
It
in this
just
area." And I don't want to find out. If I can
yep,
if I can prevent it as much as I can.
exactly, yeah, you just gotta put
Yeah.
the little things in place that you can, you can't I mean, people could find me if they really,
Sure.
really wanted to,
Yes.
but,
Anybody
you
malicious
know
enough. Yeah.
yeah, but, and it's just about trying to reclaim some privacy or try to have some privacy on certain things like family and personal, relationships and stuff like that. That's all.
I think I struggled with this, and let me know if you did, of like,
Mhm.
what do I share to continue being authentic
Yeah.
versus masking? And the reality for me was, and I'm premature in answering this, but the reality for me was what I'm comfortable with in the moment. That sounds really basic, but like, if I'm not comfortable sharing something, I do not owe it to anybody. Even if it will make a point, even if it will help people relate to me, whatever it is,
Mhm.
I don't have to share anything until I'm in a place where I'm ready to share that.
Mhm.
And that was
I
really
mean,
hard because you feel like other people own this part of you, if that makes sense. But
that folds into just like generally being a content creator.
yeah,
And the reality of being a content creator is that boundaries are always going to have to be in place,
yep,
especially in a mental health focused community. More so just because you are talking about very personal and very, real and sometimes heavy things that are happening. And, that's why I have learned over the years to have and to selfless or selfishly, but not in a bad way, hold these boundaries in place
yes,
is not only
yes.
protecting me, but it's protecting my viewers and the people that, I care about
Hmm.
and just because I care about a longtime viewer, content creators are also, they can't be your friends. Like we all
Yeah.
can't be your friends. We all can't. Why I want to relate to every single person in my chat. I really do. And I want to help them. And I want them to feel comfortable and safe and
Hmm.
have a
Hmm.
place. I also can't be friends with a couple thousand people. Like it's just not the way the world works.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And it's nothing against them. It's just a boundary that's in place. And that doesn't mean that when I'm at a con, I won't hang out with you or go buy a beer with you or go hang,
Right.
whatever. But there can't be the expectation or there can't be this ideology that, content creators are your friends. Cause a lot of time, and don't get me wrong, we're friends with a lot of our mods, longtime
Yeah.
viewers. These
Yeah.
things do happen naturally. Like that's just the way the world works. But it's just not possible for everybody. And there just needs to be realistic boundaries. So I think it just folds into just being a content creator in general.
Yeah. That's
Um,
true. That's very
and
true.
just what you want to share in the moment is what you can be comfortable with, but also like I said, not everything needs to be shared, and if it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, does that really need to be shared, then probably doesn't. So,
It's
and
true.
trust me, the only one that's going to notice is yourself.
Right.
So so
Yeah.
it comes with it comes with being on a platform
Yeah.
for a while. You just kind of learn,
Yeah.
and it's been very helpful having people like Chris and his girlfriend
Sure.
Shan. They've been on influencers for years, 7 years, and all pals I met through them because they've been doing it for a long time. So learning from them and kind of seeing how it is and how they deal with things has been very, very helpful and very influential in my life. So I've been very blessed to have that kind of, friendship, but also someone to kind of mentorship to learn from them. So
That's awesome. That's really that's so such a nice way to put it. And
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay. Hold on. I want to make sure that your links are going up. Okay, there's Crispy's links. Okay. Hold on. Ooh, Q next. Okay. Wild Duality asked, how do you both deal with loneliness? There are times where I just sometimes feel terribly alone, and it's usually when I have no one to reach out to.
So for me, loneliness is a little different, but I'll give you two sides of the coin. So for me, I'm actually very surprisingly introverted. So I've always joked that I'm an introvert trapped in an extrovert's body,
Mhm.
because for me, alone time is like not only necessary, but it's enjoyable. So loneliness in for me comes with periods of time, kind of like 2020. I've been lonely in the sense that I have not had the limited interaction that I've needed, um, because I've been quarantined most of the year. Like I literally been in my apartment for a year with very, very little to no travel or outside time, like many of
Mm.
us have. So, for me, that comes in the form of like, while I do only need like a little bit of like, it's not need. My social meter is very small, so
Mhm.
like,
Easy to
and
fill.
easy to fill.
Yeah.
So for me, going home and being by myself is very important. But I think in the times when I have been lonely, the important thing is to try to fill your time with forms of escapism that are healthy
Mm.
for me.
Yep.
And that can
Yep.
come in, and I key on the word and the phrase, forms of escapism that are healthy. That
Mhm.
can be a hobby, that can be something that you enjoy. And it's tough because mental illness can sometimes take away the enjoyment of those things. So you're probably thinking in your head like, okay, but if I'm lonely and I want to play games, but I'm depressed, so I don't enjoy playing games, what do I do?
Yep. Oh god.
That's completely valid.
Yeah.
Like, that's I've
Yeah.
dealt with that,
Yep. Oh my
So
god.
it's like, what do I do? I'm literally sitting in front of my computer and I opened up this game and I don't even wanna play it because 'cause I'm not enjoying it. And that's my form of escapism, and that's my form, and that's very real, and to be honest, there isn't always an answer there, at least from my perspective. But I think trying to develop a number of options or hobbies, or even, things like, for me, reading is something that I'll never not enjoy. So I have books on deck, even if they've been sitting there for months, they will get read. I know that. Um, but even if it comes to things like research, like for me, researching stuff, hobbies like research. I have bought a number of books for, I know I've been delving into different areas of advocacy now as best as I can. Trying to educate myself on more, social issues and, injustice issues and
Yep.
racial discrimination
Same.
and stuff like that. And, even trying to understand things like feminism a little bit more, and just trying to understand, even if I don't agree necessarily with all the ideologies,
Sure.
understanding fully what that perspective is before I make a decision on, what the
That's so
what
important. Yeah.
that means to me. So I'm being trying to educate myself as much as possible the last couple of months because I have all this time. So basically, that's the long way of saying is a long way of saying is that a long way of saying that having multiple options and multiple things that, and with the internet, there are ways to find stuff that you enjoy. We all enjoy something. We just have to find what it is. And when you're stuck inside, I understand right now it's a very like asterisk towards all this stuff because it's
Yeah.
a very unique
Mhm.
environment that we're all in right now. But like I said, if you do have access to the internet, it can open your eyes to a lot of different things, and even things like watching shows and animes and stuff like that. There are free and maybe not necessarily legal, but ways of watching stuff. It is what it is.
Sharing
whatever.
pass, just share a password with your mom. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, or share a pass with your mom, something like
Mhm.
that. Or your friends or something like that. And yeah, yeah, just having more than one option of ways to kind of focus your mind, if you can, if you're able to, you know. So,
Yeah.
and like for me, it was always like, not to keep going, but to just
Keep
like
no, don't keep going. During
I
your
know,
interview,
I know.
please stop
Uh,
talking. Go
like
ahead.
I developed a love for fly fishing out of nowhere like 5 or 6 years ago because I could go drive to by myself. I learned how to fly fish from a buddy, and I could go to the streams that I like to go to. I fish for trout, all catch and release, all conservationally conscious. Never keep an animal that I fish for, purely sport. Um, and I'd go and I'd be able to go out into these streams and these isolated areas and go fish in these beautiful streams and catch these gorgeous fish and get to appreciate them for a few seconds before I put them back. And it was so like zen. It's always been so zen and like such a surreal connection with something different, get me outside and get me doing something. And I man, I didn't get to do a lot of fishing this year for obvious reasons that even though it's outdoors, still the access to a lot of these places are not, you know, weren't available. But I can't wait till I can do that again. Just getting outdoors and get some sun once in a while too. I know everyone jokes about that, but get outdoors and just
No,
breathe the air.
seriously. Yeah.
Do it. It kicks,
Seriously.
just even if it's just out on a porch with your pupper or your kitty or your mom, just having a cup of tea. Just get outside and to breathe a little too.
I am screaming because I agree with all of this so much. But no, but seriously, the other thing that I miss cons so much. I felt like they were my way to connect with people who are normally, just on the screen or names, like, and I really, really miss that connect. Like, I miss being exhausted and complete, like, overtired and being like, I don't know where any of my energy is coming from, and I have to do this for 3 more days. I I miss that so much.
Mhm.
Like, I really feel like I need that, and I feel like that's been missing, and I really, really can't wait to get that back. But to answer your question, since you asked about both of us, wild duality, my thing is so what I recommend that peeps do is what I did is try a bunch of stuff and then figure out. So, okay, so when I'm having like a decent day, not the best day of my life, not a bad day, but just like I'm having a decent day. What did I do today that made this a decent day? Well, I had a productive day at work. I read a book. I walked my dog. I played with my dog. I talked to my husband. I gave him a hug. All of those things are part of what made this day nice. So if you can figure out what those things are, literally make a list of them and go through that list. That next time you're like lonely and sad and feeling, go through that list. Be like, okay, so let me see. Oh, I don't feel like reading. Okay, I'll play a game. Oh, I don't feel like playing a game. I'll go hang out with my dog or my cat or whatever. You go through your list of things that you have, because the hardest thing I find when you're lonely, when you're depressed, when you're feeling all those emotions is to access that part of your brain that's going to like give you ideas. You just kind of, like, in my experience, I just kind of sit there like a potato and go like, oh, nothing's working, and very Eeyore. So yeah. That was a great question, Wild Duality. That was great.
Very good.
All right. So I am so sorry if people's questions aren't coming through. I only grab serotonins. If somebody else has questions, please use the thing, the correct way to do it. And then if I can't catch it, please feel free to ask it at the end. I am going to close the queue just for the sake of Crispy's time and everything. But yeah, it's !join, and then you type your question in. Okay. Serotonin asked, okay, hold on. Q next. Serotonin asks, Crispy, how did you come to decide that it was important for you to donate your brain for chronic traumatic? Oh, wait. No.
Epilepsy?
No, yeah, wait. I'm skipping a question. Sorry. Okay, I think
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, Serotonin asks, do you feel like being open means you have to be more clear with your boundaries as a content creator? Do you feel like that line is different from person to person? And is it difficult figuring out where your own boundaries are as your community grows? This is something called interpersonal relationships.
Hmm.
And so if you want to do some research, type that into Google and check that out. And parasocial, yes, that's the next word that I was looking for. Thank you, Bliff. You read my mind. And
Hmm.
parasocial relationships. There's an amazing researcher, Dr. Daniel. He was on our
Yes.
show. The episode is up on my YouTube, and you can watch it. And he talks about this forever and ever. And he talks about the fact that Twitch is super unique in the fact that you have access in real time to talk to your favorite person. That's not something you could do on TV or with your
Hmm.
favorite singer. So it's very, very different kind of relationship. But yeah, so parasocial relationships, look that up. But go ahead and answer the question, Crispy. Sorry.
Well, no, no, and I think talking about parasocial relationships and just interpersonal relationships on a social media or an internet platform is a super interesting conversation, and it's again kind of I and kind of going off what you were talking about, what Dr. Daniels was saying, is that you are talking to somebody in real time. And as a content creator, sometimes you do have to develop those boundaries in real time. And sometimes you have to develop them over time based on your experience. Like, not everyone has a Chris Melberger that has been a mentor to me, where he can tell me, like, hey, I've dealt with this kind of stuff. So, like, here's this and this, advice based off what I do with it what you please. But here's, some introspect on the topic. And I think it doesn't necessarily differ from person to person, but it does differ with what does differ with time. It does and it doesn't. I should say it does and it doesn't differ per person, because if you're the kind of person where you're at all these cons and you meet me constantly at these cons and you're at the get-togethers for the community, and we do develop a bit of a friendship, like as best you can, or you become a mod or something like that. Yeah, there are certain boundaries that are or are not in place for these people based on how they
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
are, how they're involved in what is essentially my business, right? This is, as a content creator, it's not just, you know, uh, what I do. This is my job. So, as a content creator, for me, like right now, I'm a full time content creator. So, this is my job. So, I treat it like a job. I
Yeah.
treat it, my brand, as a business. So, it, in a way, there are those secondary and tertiary kind of boundaries and things that I have to consider whenever, I let somebody inside my personal circle and personal zone, because we've had it happen in our
Yeah.
close communities where one of the people that has been associated with me or my friends has turned out to be a really crappy person, and they've gotten their platform taken away because of it. And unbeknownstly to me or to other people, they've been caught doing things that are underhanded and not great. And sometimes you just never know when that stuff's going to happen, so you
Yeah.
have to be very careful on who you let into your life and let into your circle and let share your platform with you, if you do share it at all with anyone. um and that comes with even just putting people on your stream, even in things like community games and stuff. Anyone who has access to a mic can say something stupid,
Yeah.
and that's just the reality of the situation. I could know somebody for 4 years on my stream through chat, but that doesn't mean that I know them as a person. And if I put
Right.
them in a Fortnite game and they say one of the variations of the F word
Right.
because they got mad at something and they have not, gone through the process of changing their vocabulary, then that's on me, and that's on me for letting them have access to that ability to do that. So it's important that, not only me, but the people that I, you know, involve myself with understand that. So for me, it wasn't difficult to find where those lines were. It was just a learning process on where to place those lines and how to
Mm-hmm.
place them
Mm-hmm.
and what to do for my stream and for my content to prevent and the best I can for those situations from happening, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be that, you don't allow people that you don't know access to, mics or something on a game like community games or something, or letting them come into Discord to talk,
Right. Right.
or so on and so forth. And you can't just not trust everyone, especially like when we did the
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's on them. If you're a
Yeah, and
crappy person, that's still on you.
yeah, yeah, but you also just have to be mindful of when you give somebody a platform. When you have a platform and you give somebody a platform, you are to a certain extent responsible
Yes.
for
Mhm.
allowing them to have that platform.
Yes.
So, that's just things you have to be mindful of.
Yep. Yep. Great answer. My gosh, great answer. So I think there's 3 questions left. Stride Cipher asks, Crispy, how did you come to decide that it was important for you to donate your brain to chronic traumatic encephal? Why don't you pronounce it the right way?
It's chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
I feel better.
Encephalopathy. Yeah,
I feel
it's very
better.
hard to it's very very hard to pronounce. So CTE is a progressive degenerative disorder that affects the brain of people with um multiple or repetitive brain trauma, and it's typical in athletes, specifically football and all contact sports, so lacrosse, hockey, stuff like that. Um, and it's very and I'm not an expert on CTA by any means, but basically, um, it is very symptomatic with and very and symptomatic with uh concussion like symptoms
Hmm. Hmm.
over progressive of time, but it can get worse and worse. It's like I said, it's a degenerative disease, so it can get worse and worse as you get older. And you can have very little amounts of it, um and live your life, and it can affect you, but it some people have it very very bad, and it can turn them uh, I don't even know the way to the problem is there's not a lot of research done on CTE.
Mm. Hmm.
So try to tell you what it does is kind of like at this point in its
Infancy?
life infancy, yeah,
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
on the studies is a little tough.
Yeah.
The where's the foundation? Um, that does all the
Thank you,
research.
Bliff. Bliff is my
Um,
brains
yeah, well,
exported into a mod.
the American Brown Brain Foundation does a lot, but there's a specific there's a specific sect of that does all the uh I think it's the Alzheimer's Disease Center somewhere,
Hmm.
that does all the brain donations and stuff. But the reason I decided to donate my brain is because I have shown symptoms, not asymptomatic, but symptomatic symptoms of long-term concussive-like symptoms that unfortunately manifest themselves similarly to a lot of different mental illnesses. So over time, it's something that I'm just gonna have to be mindful of and watch, but also it's something that I want to help because it's so hard to research and so hard to get information on right now because you
Hmm.
literally have to look at a past person's brain to
Yeah, that's kind of like
see.
Alzheimer's, where you
Yeah,
can't really, you can diagnose dementia, but you
yeah.
can't diagnose Alzheimer's officially until somebody's passed because
Mhm.
you can't tell how their brain, you have to be inside their brain.
You
Yeah.
literally have to cut their brain open, which you
Yeah.
can't do while someone's alive. So it's just it's just the truth.
Yeah.
And so, a couple years ago, the NFL had a lot of information going out and a lot of controversy when it came to CTE, and a lot of
Hmm.
NFL players, unfortunately, dealing with it at an advanced age. Well, not even an advanced age, middle age people were dealing with it, and we're dealing with a lot of mental illnesses that were coming from it, mental instability, stuff like that. um, so like I said, I'm not as well versed on this as I am other stuff, but it's becoming more and more important to me because of not implications, but the fact that there is a possibility that I could be, suffering from it in some capacity, even if it's just in a minor capacity. If I can do something for something I'm not gonna be using anyways when I'm gone. I'm not the kind of person that wants to be buried or anything like that. I don't
Hmm.
care about that.
Yeah.
put me in a kiln and roast me and toast me into cinders. And yeah, I don't care. It's just a shell for me when I'm gone. So if my body at all can be used for something medically relevant, I would love that. So that's
Helpful in your
just
life and helpful posthumously. That's pretty great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's cost me nothing,
Yeah.
so why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, that's another amazing answer. Thank you. Serotonin asked another question. Crispy, I know I haven't been watching you for very long, but I was also wondering what your own journey in accepting and dealing with your mental health looked like. I think it's important to listen to men speak on mental health as well, and I'm curious to see how you've grappled with all of that.
Read that one more. Where can
Oh,
I?
it's not in chat.
Oh,
The bot didn't pick it up, so I'm
oh,
reading it.
okay. Read
Oh
that one more
wait, I
time.
can
Sorry.
copy it. Hold on, I
I
think I can
zoned. I
copy it.
zoned
And
half the. I
you're
didn't zone,
fine.
but I.
You're fine. You don't have to. You're good. I know I haven't been watching you for very long, but I was also
Okay.
wondering what your journey in accepting and dealing with your mental health looked like. I think
Oh,
it's so
oh, okay.
important to listen to men speak on mental health as well, and I'm curious to see how you grappled with that.
For me, I've struggled for my entire life, trying to deal with my personal relationships with men and toxic masculinity. So for me, as a male, um, I never had trouble talking about. Well, that's a lie. I had less of a hard time trying to discover and be vocal about my path because I never really related to men as much as other people did. I never fit in
Okay.
with other men. I never fit in, you know, big bro circles. Like on the outside, I did, and I did a lot of masking in high school when it came to that.
Mm,
But these aren't people that I talk to now. Like I don't talk to any of them because it was all a facade. We are when we're kids in high school.
yep.
I was a popular kid, but then in reality, I didn't have any friends in terms of like long lasting friendships. There are a few people that are still very close, but um, it's one of those things where I never had a super hard time coming to terms with the fact that I was dealing with mental illness. It was always for me trying to figure out what the heck to do with it or ignore or straight up just ignoring it, which was not the way to go.
Oh my God, we
Um,
have so much in common.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Uh-huh.
and putting myself in a position where I didn't treat it to the point where or didn't get the help I needed to the point where it's starting to affect my life in very, very negative ways. My personal relationships, my partner relationships, um, opening me to doors of being taken advantage of and leading
Mm,
to mental abuse in terms of
I'm so
people
sorry.
taking advantage of me and my state and my vulnerability, which is not, I know it's not an easy thing for men to talk about, but I've been trying more and more to talk about it, in my experiences with that. But I think for me, there is a weird kind of disconnect when it comes to being like specifically a man when it talks about when talking about mental health because I've never really identified too heavily with masculinity besides very base and general stuff. So not to get into a discussion about identity because I'm not educated or marginalized in any way when it comes to that kind of conversation. So I don't think it's necessarily appropriate for me to speak on those things. I've Yeah. So yeah, but that's basically it. You know, it took me a long time to deal with took me a long time to recognize that I needed to get help beyond just holding myself together,
Oh my
as many
God.
people
Yeah.
many people try to do, and they try to, "Oh, I'll be fine. I can hold it together."
Yeah, you feel like you
But
can think your way out of it.
you think you can think your way out or fix yourself or cure yourself, right? I can fix myself. I can
I
cure
got yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna figure and I've said this before too where I just kept running after like I just have to figure it out. There's just a key and once I find that exact key, like the key to my thinking, I'll unlock that door and then I'll never look back. Like I'll just be
Yeah.
undepressed. That'll
Yeah.
be it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man.
It don't work like that.
It don't work like
It
that.
don't work like that.
Yeah. But
Uh, all right, last question, and then we will let you go. But this is so good. I could talk to you for hours.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
how do you deal with living with someone who is really afraid and paranoid during the pandemic? My mom is scared and has a panic attack when the doorbell rings and gets angry if I walk to the trash can. I'm so scared to do anything because of her reactions. Dino, interesting question.
That's an interesting question. I think it's hard to give you a an example or a an answer that I think will be sufficient because it's such a unique and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unprecedented time. Nothing in our lifetime, at least for our us younger people, we've never really dealt with this as adults, and
Yep.
we've never really dealt with it. Like I know there has been. I think the Spanish flu was in the 90s,
Yeah, the
which
influenza.
which was very similar, but it wasn't this bad,
No.
and it was the only thing I think it was like 93 or 94. I was 3 or 4 years old. Like it was I wouldn't know what it was like. Um but for a lot of people this is unprecedented time. So I think the thing I would say is that communication in any interpersonal relationship is going to be key, especially if you're living with somebody. So I think just generally, I would say that trying to communicate the best you could with your parent and trying to sit them down and talk to them about what they're feeling about the current, pandemic and what's going on, why they're acting the way they are, and kind of just expressing your concerns and what you are feeling. It would be a healthy way to go about it. Um, Beyond that, like I said, I don't want to give you necessarily advice because it's so unprecedented of a time that a lot of us are dealing with really really tough situations that we don't really have all the answers to right now. And I know that sounds like a cop out answer, but it just is such an unprecedented time for mental health. And in a way, in a very dark way, I'm not excited, but I'm interested to see the studies that come out of this time period in the United States. But I hope that because it's such a weird and unprecedented time, and because there's so much going on in this country right now, hopefully, people in positions of administrative power will start looking at mental health more seriously and seeing how this affects the broader and larger picture.
Great answer. What I can add to that, I think that's you give all the disclaimers, so you're good. We're good. The thing that I will add to that is, and this might sound wild, but I live with somebody who has panic disorder, and one of the greatest gifts I think you can give someone with panic disorder, and this is gonna sound wild, but to validate them. I think a lot of us need to just be reminded that like it's not great that you're panicking at this level, right? But it's valid. It's a nervous time. It's a stressful time. It's anxiety inducing time. And I know you're scared. There's a lot going on that we can't explain, but I'm going to be okay. But it's okay. I understand. Just giving that, I understand that you're scared. And it's okay that you're scared. I'm validating the fact that I understand that you're scared and that is an okay emotion for you to experience is super important for people right now.
Yeah.
And so just giving, I feel like when I'm freaking out, that's one of the best things that somebody can give me. It feels like, why would you do that? Because, oh my God, if someone's panicking, you tell them that they're right to panic. Aren't they going to keep panicking? That's not how it works though. So yeah, try a little bit of empathy goes a long way. Yeah. But Dino, moving out of your house is also a great, great thing to do. I highly recommend it. But
Hmm. Yeah.
that comes from personal experience. Um, Crispy, this was amazing.
It was great.
It
Thank you so
was
much for having
so
me.
good. This is so good. I want to have you back. Like you
Anytime.
speak so
Anytime.
well, and this is so
Thank you.
great. And yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This is brilliant.
No,
So,
thank you. No, I
oh,
don't get to talk about this stuff with other people or other content creators as much as I'd love to. So,
literally,
anytime.
you have all of my DMs now. If you ever want to, no, I'm serious. Like I
Yeah.
will. There's not a lot of people I will drop stuff for, but like I love talking to you, and I you know
Yes.
where to find me. So
Feeling is
please,
mutual.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will though. I will. Don't say that
Yeah,
unless you mean
no, I don't say anything unless I don't mean it. Trust me.
uh, Here are Crispy's links. Crispy, how can we find you? What days can we find you on? Give us the whole spiel.
Well, being a full-time content creator, my schedule is a disaster, as usual, as all of
Mm-hmm,
us are.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, but my time slot is usually somewhere EST in the afternoon. I try to start anywhere between 12 and 3 p.m. I usually do early to late afternoon streams with the occasional, planned Among Us or stuff like that at night. You can find me at twitch.tv/crispygameplay. I'm Crispy Gameplay across all my socials, thankfully, and Twitter, Instagram. Sylvie does have his own Instagram. If you guys want to go look at the fluffy bunny, it is Sylvie the Rabbit. So you can just find that. It's very easy to find. But yeah, aside from that, we do probably a uh, quarterly usual sorry, quarterly usually charity stream that focuses on a specific thing. A lot of the time, most of the time, it's going to be the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. But like I said, I've been trying to diversify where I put our where I advocate for in terms
Mm-hmm.
of our charity streams and trying to broaden that horizon a little bit as we grow and grow. But yeah, beyond that, you can see me on my channel or Chris's channel or a bunch of my pals' channels doing a bunch of fun stuff and just all over the place, just having fun, having a good time, and talking mental health. So,
Sweet. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
again, thank you for having me.